Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so everyone's buzzing about AI, right? But you have to wonder, is the tech world really shifting in the ways we think? And where is the cutting edge actually emerging from? Today we get into some really fascinating sources, bits from a Bloomberg Live discussion.
Hello everyone, this video is all about AI podcast, and this podcast is a source from this video, and this video is all about China versus US, like who will win in technology and who will dominate in the world. So you can see all the expert. So most of the people on this in interviews, and they are venture capitalists, they are founder, and they are VC firm. And so this entire video you can digest within 15 minutes, and which is I'm using advanced AI models, and that explain very well. So if you want to understand who will win, so watch this video, because this video is
World that made headlines earlier this year when it released its AI chatbot.
I mean, this is entire video, 42 minutes, and this video from Bloomberg Live. If you want to, you can watch entire video. But if you want to understand within 15 minutes, so watch my this AI podcast.
Actually, to try and unpack what's happening with China's tech sector, especially AI, with all the global pressures going on. Basically, our mission is to give you the shortcut, pull out the key insights on innovation, investment, talent, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And this isn't just, skimming headlines. It's about understanding the deeper forces shaping tech's future. We're looking at it from the VC angle and the public markets angle. These sources, they give you a direct look from key players. It's pretty interesting stuff. Some of it might even surprise you.
Okay, let's start with one of those surprises then. DeepSeek, an AI company, right? They put out this model that apparently rivals the best open source ones, and it costs way less. But here's the kicker, the really wild part from the sources. They did it with no venture funding, started as a side project. How does that even happen? What's the significance there?
Yeah, DeepSeek's story is pretty unique, and it says a lot. It literally started as a non-commercial side project. The founder was doing contracting work. So while it wasn't like a typical venture-backed rocket ship from day one, its success really boosted the overall confidence in China's entrepreneurial scene. It showed that, hey, there's very genuine innovation happening, both at the foundational level, the core AI models, and at the application layer. The app's built on top. It proved you can build world-class stuff there, even, starting unconventionally.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It sort of challenges that whole idea that you absolutely need massive VC checks right out of the gate for cutting-edge AI. But then the sources throw us a curveball. Despite wins like DeepSeek, the overall VC investment in Chinese companies, it's actually been falling the last couple of years. That feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? Is that a bad sign, or is something else going on?
It seems more strategic, actually. Yeah, overall, VC might be down, but where the money is going is very specific. It's flowing into AI applications. Think general apps, but also vertical agents, AI tailored for specific industries, specific tasks, and into enterprise software, too. And the sources suggest Chinese developers have real advantages here. They're good at building these apps and getting them out globally fast. Look at the app stores right now for AI video generators. 3 or 4 of the top 5 globally. They're from China. Halo, Clean Pix, they're already competing hard worldwide. Shows their agility.
Agility, right. But is that purely tech skill? Or is it maybe, a strategic reaction? Focusing on applications, because maybe that's where they can dominate given other pressures. Because the sources also mention startups like Unitary. They're making factory robots near Hangzhou, working flat out to close the gap with the US, right? Trying to own future tech. It's definitely a dynamic situation. Okay, that dynamic picture, these startups pushing. It leads to this really interesting contrast in how people are investing based on our sources. Like, one expert is all about long-term deep tech and AI infrastructure, but specifically outside China. Why that focus?
Well, the thinking there comes down to how long it takes to actually make money. Real deep tech. Your Salesforce, Amazon, Uber, even Tesla, right? They took ages to turn a profit. Tesla was, 17 years?
17 years, wow.
Yeah. And the challenge in China, according to the source, is these very strict listing rules, investment rules. They tend to push for a faster commercialization path. So you get this sort of mismatch incentive if you're a deep tech founder, if your idea needs 10, 15 years to cook.
The money wants results quicker.
Exactly. The investment climate might demand faster returns. So those really big, long-term foundational plays, they might struggle for local funding, pushes people towards apps maybe. And what's really fascinating, they pinpoint 2025, a pivotal year for AI compute. Why? Because for the first time ever, the compute power used for inference, that's us, actually using AI day-to-day, asking questions, making images, is higher than the compute used for training the model.
Higher than training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jensen Huang from NVIDIA apparently said inference demand is 1 billion times higher than training. 1 billion times that shift. It means we need a whole new paradigm for AI production. It's not just about building bigger models anymore. It's about delivering them efficiently to billions of users.
Okay, 1 billion times higher demand for inference. That's huge.
Yeah.
And given that, the sources talk about some, frankly, mind-bending ideas for infrastructure to handle it, like data centers in space.
Seriously.
Yeah, it sounds wild, right? Totally wild. But the idea is you get free solar power, like 99% efficient compared to 13% on Earth. It runs super cold, minus 250 degrees, so cooling is easy. And you skip all the government permits, building costs. The source even mentioned a first launch in August with SpaceX is planned.
Space data centers. Okay.
But wait, it gets even wilder. Biocomputing. Or neural computers. Using actual brain neurons to make CPUs.
Brain neurons, like biological.
Yeah. They're described as a lot more intuitive than the GPU. And here's the kicker the source mentions. This isn't some lab experiment. It's commercialized.
Yeah.
Drug companies, robotics firms, universities, they're showing significant interest using brain cells for compute. Oh, what are the implications there? That's just like, oh.
I mean, if that scales, the ripple effects are enormous, right?
Yeah.
Especially for complex problems, drug discovery, robotics that can really learn and adapt. It's not just making current computers faster. It's rethinking compute itself, blurring biology and tech. It shows how broad the definition of compute is becoming.
Okay, so that's the super deep tech side. But then, flipping back, another expert in the sources focuses on public companies, right?
Yeah.
And sees a shift there, too, from infrastructure to applications.
Exactly. From that perspective, the last 2-3 years, value in public companies came from infrastructure. Think natural gas, nuclear power for the data centers, the centers themselves, cooling tech, chips, all the stuff to build the AI factory, basically, debottlenecking supply. But going forward, this view says the value creation is going to shift big time towards applications, building real applications, solving real problems, creating real use cases. Think education, finance, healthcare, gaming, these huge markets. Public companies often have tons of existing data and massive user bases. AI lets them revamp their user experience, create totally new things.
That makes sense. Leveraging what they already have. And this leads to some pretty exciting consumer stuff, too, including this idea of a one-man unicorn. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this anecdote was really something. It's about a couple. Apparently, they generated $10 million in revenue this year just from Amazon sales.
10 million. Just 2 people.
Essentially, yeah. They're using AI agents for almost everything. Product development, finding suppliers, marketing, managing the supply chain, the whole 9 yards. And they're aiming for $100 million next year without expanding hiring humans.
Without hiring people, how?
AI agents, their operating costs are described as marginally zero. So insane margins. The AI helps them not just run the business, but actually develop new products, new SKUs, and capture that long tail demand. You know, the niche stuff that humans might ignore because the volume's too low for the effort.
$10 million with basically 0 staff expansion.
Yeah, that's
Hard to wrap your head around. Incredible efficiency. Makes you wonder what kinds of businesses can actually run like that.
Okay.
Okay, but like any big tech wave, there have got to be roadblocks, right? Bottlenecks. And the sources compared China's annual AI capex, like $60–70 billion to the U.S. figure, around $350 billion. That's a massive gap. What's really behind that? What does it mean?
Right, first thing, that U.S. number. Remember, the U.S. hyperscalers, the big cloud guys like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they invest globally. So that $350 billion isn't just for the U.S. And yeah, a big chunk of U.S. capex is for training those huge state-of-the-art models. China's main bottleneck, the sources confirm, is access to state-of-the-art chips for that training part.
Okay, so it's primarily a training chip issue.
Primarily, yes. But here's the silver lining they point out. DeepSeek showed you can train efficiently, even with limits. And more importantly, for inference, which we just said is where the demand is exploding, you don't need state-of-the-art chips.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, older chips, or domestic ones like from Huawei or Kunlun, they can work just fine for running the AI day-to-day. Plus, another point made was power. Power supply for data centers is a huge bottleneck in the U.S. right now. Apparently, not such a big issue in China.
So chip limits for top-tier training, yes, but maybe less of a barrier for widespread use of AI. Interesting distinction. Okay, moving beyond hardware. Talent. The sources say China has a unique advantage here.
It really seems so. One point highlighted is that half of U.S. AI scientists have Chinese origin. That's a huge talent pool foundation right there. But maybe even more crucial is what they call the feedback loop because of China's huge population and apparently their propensity to try something new.
People are willing to test stuff out quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So product iteration, refining things based on user feedback, it can happen incredibly fast. You can test and improve at lightning speed. That's invaluable when tech moves this fast.
So that speed, that user base, how does that play out globally? We heard about this Manus example. What does that tell us about Chinese teams building for the world?
Right, Menace is a great case study here. It's a Chinese team. They built a product used all over the world. But here's the interesting twist. It's not available in China because it works with U.S. models like OpenAI's. So it shows how they've combined that ferocious competition experience from China's mobile boom, which taught them to iterate super fast with self-education from the U.S. narrative. These teams grew up reading Twitter, Reddit, absorbing Silicon Valley thinking, following mentors like Peter Thiel online. It's this blend. Iterate like crazy, but also understand global product design and scaling. Pretty potent combination, even with geopolitical stuff going on.
That is a fascinating mix. Okay, let's zoom in on Hong Kong's role. The sources say it has a lot of AI and related talents.
Yeah.
5 top AI universities. But there's a but, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely a but. Hong Kong has amazing talent, no question. The challenge highlighted is the actual adaptation of tech. It's described as pretty darn slow.
Slow how?
Well, the example given was still paying taxes by cash, and apparently so many regulations make implementing new tech really difficult. This creates these long, inefficient feedback loops. You have a great idea, great talent, but getting it tested and adopted takes forever.
So the talent might leave.
Often, yeah, they might head to Shenzhen. Much bigger market, much faster testing ground. The takeaway was Hong Kong really needs to leverage its mainland connections better, tap into the greater Bay Area resources more effectively, bridge that gap.
Got it. Okay, broader talent flows now. What about this reverse migration mentioned? Chinese students, tech workers coming back from the U.S., is that really happening?
Seems so. The sources say this trend is real, and it's been accelerated by all the talk in the U.S. about potentially limiting student visas for Chinese students in STEM. So many are choosing to return, maybe to Shanghai, maybe elsewhere in Asia. And the VCs, they're really happy to invest in those talents right now. It brings top-tier U.S.-trained talent back into the local ecosystem.
Okay, shifting gears to the investment climate again, specifically within China right now. Sources mentioned early-stage valuations are surprisingly low, like 2013 levels.
Yeah.
Especially for young founders.
Yeah, that was an interesting point. It suggests much less competition for funding at that very early stage, particularly for these very young founders, or green founders, as one source called them.
Green founders, like inexperienced.
Exactly. First-time founders, often really young. So while you still have superstar founders commanding high valuations, there's this whole segment where it's less crowded. It reinforces that idea of taking contrarian bets on these young teams, hoping their courage, as they put it, pays off. It's definitely a window of opportunity for investors willing to take that risk.
Contrarian bets on courage. I like that. Okay, so we've covered a lot: innovation, investment, bottlenecks, talent. Based on everything in these sources, what's the most exciting, maybe even dreamlike use of AI that people are thinking about or looking to invest in? What really sparks the imagination?
Well, there were quite a few dream cases brought up, actually. Really diverse stuff. One angle was just betting on youth, investing in post-2000 founders, like even 17-year-olds. The logic is new tech levels the playing field. Young people aren't stuck in old ways of thinking. They can just build based on curiosity.
Investing in teenagers. Interesting. What else?
Then there's that whole reimagining AI creation itself. Back to the space data centers, free solar, super cold, no permits, and the world's first neural computer using actual brain neurons. And remember, the source stressed this is commercialized, getting real interest from pharma, robotics, universities. That's not just improving AI, it's fundamentally changing how we might build it.
Right, the biocompute. Still wild to think about.
Totally. Then there's a more societal, almost philosophical point raised. If AI makes everything super efficient, saves time, saves money, one coder does the work of 50. What happens then? What do people do? One expert posed this idea that AI won't just help us save time, but eventually help us make kill time, keep us occupied. Raises big questions about purpose, doesn't it?
Make kill time. Huh. That's a provocative way to put it.
And finally, on the consumer front, hyper-personalization seems huge. Examples like AI glasses recording your whole day, 10 hours of video, audio, understanding context, summarizing, tracking well-being. Obviously, huge privacy questions there.
Yeah.
Fast. But also, personalized e-commerce, where you type an idea, AI generates a 3D model, and it gets physically made and shipped. Or hyper-personalized content. Imagine cartoons, videos, news, all generated instantly, just for you, based on your tastes. Everyone using the same app sees totally different stuff. Media becomes completely bespoke.
Wow, okay. What a deep dive that was.
Yeah.
We've really covered the map. China's tech scene, pushing innovation despite pressures, shifting investment from infrastructure maybe more towards applications, and these super efficient AI agents, leveraging unique advantages like that rapid feedback loop, the talent pool, even as they navigate bottlenecks like high-end chips, seeing contrarian bets on young founders, and these radical ideas like space data centers or neural computers. It's definitely moving fast.
Absolutely. It underscores just how transformative AI is from the very foundations of computing right up to our most personal daily experiences. And you really see the global interconnectedness, right? Talent moves, ideas cross borders, innovations impact everyone eventually. The lines are definitely blurring.
So it leaves you thinking, if AI is getting so good so fast, not just saving time and money, but personalizing everything, running businesses almost automatically, what does that mean for us? For humans? What new kinds of creativity or connection or even purpose might emerge when machines handle so much of the routine? What will you do with all the freed up capacity? Something to think about.